Let's talk about interviews. I am a software engineer, has been in the industry for almost 10 years now, and I have been to a lot of interviews. I have failed a lot of interviews, and I have been fortunate to get jobs in certain interviews. And on the other hand, I have conducted a lot of interviews as well. And I wanted to compile all of them, my learnings together, and then come up with this video and share the thoughts with you guys. Let's get right into it. Interviews are stressful because we get judged and our brains hate it, and we want the job, so we want to be perfect instead of being honest, and we also overthink what the interviewer wants from us. We want to show our best potential, prove that we are the perfect candidate for the position. And with all those thoughts, we automatically get very stressful and nervous. And apart from all this, we study a lot of technical things, we do algorithms, we need to remember a lot of things, classes, whatever programming concepts related to all of this. And that is completely normal, in my opinion. I have been stressed for almost all the interviews. The most important thing that I will look for, and a lot of other interviewers look for, is how you think, not what you memorize. Because ultimately, I am recruiting you to my team, and we are supposed to work together, and what matters is not how you can memorize things. It's about how you think. Can you think logically? Can you solve a problem? Are you good with communication? Can you explain a complicated thing properly? That's one of the most important things, because in tech, when we work, we always need to share knowledge. Is mostly business knowledge, and that can be very complicated if it's like a banking system, accounting system, and there can be different terminologies linked with that business processes, and I need someone who can understand what I'm telling that person, and that person should be able to convey that message, or like distribute that message, or explain that to other person. That's way more important than you memorizing some algorithm and stuff. Yeah, like you need to be pleasant to work with in a team, because ultimately you are not going to work alone. You have to work with me, work with the team, and that's something the interviewers and me, when I'm doing interviews, also very much look towards. In all the interviews, the interviewers ask questions. Like when I ask questions, I always go from the base level, like the easiest, very simple questions, and then I gradually go to the most complicated level of questions. And me and the other interviewers don't really expect you to answer every single question, especially when we ask questions, is most of the times to figure out where you stand, like in the spectrum. Like if you are a junior developer, or someone who enters to the industry, then we ask these basic questions, and then eventually at certain point you need to tell us that you don't know the answer. And the purpose of asking these questions is not to make you uncomfortable, but for us to get a gauge where you stand. And this is something that I see a lot of candidates understand wrongly, because they start to panic and think of answers, and instead of saying that I don't know, they always come up with a random answer, and that is quite bad, because we want them to tell us that, okay, this is not something I have done before, or this is not something I have experience with. And okay, that's number one. That you say that means you're good, we get your gauge. And if you want to score the next points, you can think, you can let us know the level that you're thinking, like the pattern that you're thinking. If someone asks you about like how are you going to design this distributed system, and you as the junior developer, you have no clue what is this distributed system anyway, but if you still say something like up to the level of your knowledge that this is how you think that might work, or like there can be stuff that you learned in the university, maybe like scaling and stuff, you can bring up those words and let the interviewers know that you can think about it, but you don't know the definitive answers because you don't have the experience and exposure about it. I think that's something very important, and you can get very positive feedbacks from the interviewers. The projects you're going to talk about in the interview is very, very important, because interviewers don't have a very long time to go through every one of your projects. So most of the time they ask you to choose a project, or they ask you a question maybe to explain one of your projects that is important for you, like, or significant for you. And the choice of your project is very important, because that helps the interviewer to get a gauge on your contributions, on the level of understanding of the system, and the challenges, the mistakes you have done in the project, the things that you can do differently in the project. And this has to be real experience. And if you choose the least contributed or the least technically complex project, then you don't have a lot to talk about. You don't have the chance to bring up those important contributions you have done in the projects. So make sure to prepare yourself with the perfect project that you can talk a lot about. Buzzwords can backfire on you. Nowadays, I see a lot of people, especially with the AI boom in our engineering industry, everyone tries to say that they do a lot around AI, and they say chatbots, RAGs, and Gen AI, and they use a lot of buzzwords around it. And but me as the interviewer, I really want to know what they know about these things. And when I ask questions, if the person can't really bring up the experiences and the technical explanations about those things, then the conclusion that I might be getting is that, well, you are using a lot of words, and are you trying to trick me that you know so many things but you don't? Obviously not a good thing. So the way you think is way more valuable than using the buzzwords or the trending things in the interview. Because in our industry, everyone's supposed to learn every day, and you can't really stick to one framework and one way of coding and go through it every day. So when we interview people, we always look for people's ability to understand, and that is enough for us to get a guarantee that these trending things, we can get them to learn. And as long as they are good with thinking, you don't have to prove me that you know all the trending technologies. Well, easier said than done, but don't. When an interviewer challenges you with a question, take it as a conversation. Don't try to give the solution, don't try to give the answer straight away. Number one, you should ask questions, clarify, and that's something we also expect from the person. And if I tell you to design like a super random system which handles 100,000 requests per hour, and I ask you how are you going to manage maybe the idempotency of this thing, and we expect that person to ask us questions to clarify the whole thing before giving the answers. And what we notice, unfortunately, most of the time is that they try to find a solution assuming that I told them everything. But most of the times, the bigger picture is not there. And I expect you to ask me questions and clarify and have a discussion, not to take it as a challenge, but to take it as a conversation. Again, very important, because this is the chance that you can let them know that you are interested in this position, interested in this role. If you ask a very simple question like, how is the day of life in this role? And that is more than enough for us to get to the conclusion that, okay, this person is actually interested working with us, and the candidate is interested to know how things work inside. And you can always ask about the team culture. How is the culture like? Or how do we work as a team, as a project? Are we doing multiple projects? Or what's the execution flow? Are we practicing agile? Very common questions, but still make sure to ask a few to show that interest. But I would say if it's a technical interview, do not ask about leaves or the salary or anything unrelated to the team and the working culture. Final point, the reality. That's why we say sometimes we need that certain level of luck to get the job, because every interview has multiple sides to that. You as the candidate, you are one side, but there can be the finance departments, there can be the HR departments, there's gonna be project teams, project managers, and resource managers, a lot of other stakeholders in the process. So you may be the perfect person technically, but there might be other constraints in other departments which can result in the rejection of your application, which is unfortunate, but it's the reality. And even if you keep failing multiple interviews, you shouldn't come to the conclusion that it's your issue, because as I just said, there's multiple stakeholders. If there's any issues from certain departments or certain places, the result can be a negative. So don't give up, keep going. The perfect place will definitely find you soon. I myself has been doing almost all the things I just listed down not to do, and I learned them my way. And I just wanted to share, because still a lot of candidates out there are still doing the same mistakes, and we feel bad if we have to reject a good candidate just because of these concerns. That's about it for today. Catch you guys next time.